Hello, everyone. Thank you for tuning in to Black Equity Talk. Here we discuss issues related to the health and wealth of people in the Black community in America and worldwide. Today, I am joined by Eleanor Shelby Ellis, CCPM of EASE Conflict Resolution Services. Hello, Eleanor.
Hello, thank you for having me today.
Yeah, thank you for coming. So you are a mediator, and we're going to discuss what that is and how you help the community. I did mention your credentials, CCPM, and for anybody who isn't familiar with what that is, can you start by telling us what that is?
Yes, basically it's a certified project, a professional project manager is what that title is. It's one of my many certifications and degrees.
Oh, wow. Awesome.
So that's what it is.
Okay.
I'm certified to run your project.
Okay, great, cool. So can you tell us what is a mediator?
A mediator is that person that comes in and sits and helps you talk about and flesh out whatever disputes or issues you may have with other persons, or, and that could be either single or plural. It could be with you, with a coworker, a family member, someone in the community. Just a myriad of things it looks like. It could be with you in a landlord, or if you live in an apartment building or whatever. It could be your neighbors. You're not getting along with your neighbors. What I do is I come and I make sure that I sit everybody down, everybody's voice is heard without being rude and crass. And it gives people a time to sit down at the table and really discuss and openly what their feelings or ideas and suggestions are, and be able to come up and, with everyone involved, come up with a solution to whatever the issue it is that you're having. Me as a mediator, I play a neutral role, so I do not take sides. Mm-hmm. So I'm just here to listen and help facilitate, figure out what's the best plan of action for all parties involved. I am not an attorney, so I cannot give legal advice. If there is something that will straddle the fence with that, I do have different colleagues and whatnot that I collaborate with. And, if that's something that I feel as though that needs to be visited, I will give that recommendation and let you decide whether or not which way you would prefer to go and alleviate your situation.
Okay.
So that's pretty much what the mediator is. Just helps calm down a lot of the chaos and the conflict, and especially with this time that we're in right now, mediation is something that is necessary. I feel it's for our community, especially as a people, and some of the things that we go through and that we see. I think mediation is definitely a beneficial service.
Absolutely. And you mentioned that you're not a lawyer, so you don't have to be a lawyer to be a mediator. Would someone use your services instead of a lawyer? Would they use it along with a lawyer, or how does that usually happen?
It can go both ways. It can be in conjunction with. It kind of depends on how far and what kind of situation you're dealing with. You can do, typically most families that do have or have had a lawyer previously, or are they working with a lawyer, it is usually dealing with family matters, dealing with divorce or shared parenting, things like that, trying to come up with a plan or solution. Most people would come to me prior to going to an attorney to see how I can help remedy their issues, as well as with me, it's a major cost savings. Mm-hmm. Before having to get attorneys involved. Attorneys, there's retainer fees. You're charged depending on what kind. You charge in 15-minute increments or half-hour increments, things like that. But my role and my focus is specifically wanting to get it ahead of and be proactive with our community as far as their issues that they're having, instead of being reactive. Because at the point that you're reactive, 9 times out of 10 it's too late, or you kind of stepped in it a little bit, for lack of a better term. So by that time, it might be that CPS and social workers are involved. It might be that attorneys are involved, or the police are involved in restraining orders and things like that. Or you might have a court date, you know, depending on what kind of issue and, you know, what kind of things that have you know, ensued prior to you contacting me. And so that's why I said it just kind of depends on whether you want to use an attorney or not. Like I said, I am not a licensed attorney, but I do rub, you know, elbows with a few, as well as some judges.
Okay. Which I'm sure that's very important when you have a relationship with the judges, and you can kind of, you know, I'm sure you have to know something about law, even if you're not able to give actual advice.
Yes, I am not able to give legal advice whatsoever, but I know enough where to draw the line and say, hey, before we go forward, you might want to check into what your actual legal rights are.
Right, right.
Because I don't want anyone to waive their rights and it cause issues down the line. Because that's kind of that slippery slope there. And as me being a mediator, I need to be ethical as well.
Yes. Yeah, definitely. So I've heard of judges like mandatory mediation services, or what is the word? Making it mandatory, yes, that a person goes through mediation. Does that happen more often, or are your clients coming to you before it gets to that point?
Usually, if the clients are to the point where it's mandated that there is a mediation take place, typically those are cases where there is family disputes, you know, divorce, shared parenting, things like that. A lot of times the judges, they do get a little upset and cranky because they're like, you are wasting my time with what? No, you guys go figure it out first. If you guys can't figure it out, then I'll come back and then I'm gonna make a decision for you, since you can't figure it out amongst yourselves. And that's one of the things that I try to let people know, that you it's probably gonna be in your best interest for both parties to figure it out on their own, because that way both of you guys are getting something out of it, and you are more apt to be happy with the outcome, versus the arbitrator or the judge has to make that decision for you.
Right, right.
Because 9 times out of 10, you're not going to be happy with their decision. So if you put the ball in your own court and you're able to sit down and talk about and discuss what's probably going to be the best plan of action for you, your family, or you and your neighbors, you know, if you got to make a decision whether, you know, if you need to put grandmom and granddad into a facility, or versus are they going to be able to stay at home, who's going to help with the care, and, you know, just kind of just sit down and devise a plan that's going to work for everyone involved, instead of having the social workers and the attorneys and the police and, you know, just getting the system involved all across the board.
Yeah, that's a very good point, because, you know, they probably see a lot of people and they don't know the ins and outs of your particular situation. So having a plan or having a decision already made and just asking them to make it final and making that legal, I think that's really
exactly
good.
That, and it's possibility, you know, with having other people involved and the systems involved, it's a possibility you may lose all rights to whichever, you know, whatever your case is, you know, determining. Where if you're able to sit down and be amicable and devise a plan that's going to work best, you know, for everyone, it's for the better.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, mediation is very interesting to me. I actually there's like the Myers-Briggs personality test, and they have like
Okay. Yep.
INFP or whatever. They call that the mediator, and they kind of say that this field is really good for people who are this particular personality trait. Is there a particular personality trait that's more helpful, or that just finds this career just something that they may enjoy? Do you find that at all?
I never thought about it like that. I will have to say, for persons that are interested in becoming a mediator, you have to be that person that you have to be personable. That's one right there. Number two, I would have to say that's very important would be having patience.
Yeah.
Having patience. Being a mediator, it can, mediations, it could take up to 2 to 4 hours, depending on what kind of situation it is and where both parties are in, as far as coming to an agreement. That's why I said that definitely patience. The next thing I would have to say is being understanding, having being able to have that human connection and understanding. I think that's what really does it for me. So yeah, I think those that's for me personally. And then the other piece, which I know is definitely difficult, is being unbiased.
Yes.
You have to be able to set your biases aside.
Yeah, I can imagine that, having to just be straight objective.
Exactly.
Cutting everything else off.
Yep, you have to be able to keep your opinions to yourself, no matter what it is, but also maintain, professionalism and work with both persons, or parties, come to whatever that settlement's going to be. Also, like I said, being ethical and have to have a conscience. Another piece with being a mediator that also ensues being a mandated reporter. So I am a mandated reporter. If I see or hear anything that may seem as though that this is not good, it's not a healthy situation, I am mandated by the state of Minnesota that I will have to file a complaint. So that's one of the things. So, and that's whether it's children, vulnerable adults, things like that.
Yeah, definitely. And I was going to mention that, but I guess the protected classes or populations are children and people with disabilities and the older population. But if you see something that you think, oh, this person may be manipulative or a narcissist, I know you can't like diagnose anyone or put your own personal opinion in it, but I mean, how does that work? Can you kind of
what I do is before I sit down and have an actual mediation takes place, I do a consultation. So I will meet with both parties just to kind of get an idea and get a feel of where they're at emotionally, mentally, physically, of what I feel as though, or I should say what the state deems as though whether they're able to speak for themselves and act on their own behalf. If something should come up where I feel that it might straddle the fence or there might be some deficits there, I will request for either a family member that is capable, or if they have power, somebody, a social worker or power attorney or whoever their advocate or whoever their persons are, to be to take part in the mediation as well. Because like I said, I have to maintain neutral, but I want to make sure that I have to make sure that everybody is represented properly.
Right. I'm sure that's a fine line to cross or to kind of stay on that line.
Exactly.
Yeah. So how did you get into this work? How long have you been doing it? How did you become a
Oh,
mediator?
wow. Um, that's a loaded question. I would have to say I've been mediating or fixing people and their relationships and their issues for 30 plus years. And it started off being in the community, you know, family, friends, things like that. I've always been that person that everybody comes to be that sounding board or fix it. Well, what should I do? Well, can you help me talk to this person, or can you call this person? So I've always been that one. But I used to joke around a lot. I was like, I'm gonna have to start charging people for my services because this is getting to be a bit much. And it wasn't until I took a course in college that it sparked. It was like, wait, what? This is for real? There is a true career in this field, and this whole time, and I've been asleep. Just didn't understand what it was that I was doing. You know, I didn't know the title. I've been doing the work. So fast forward, like I said, I took the course. It was a communications course. Took in college, and with me taking that course, I became certified in both basic and civil mediation cases. So I'm able to mediate any kind of civil case. And then taking that course and then meeting new people and networking and going to different conferences and things, you know, things just started happening. I started volunteering for a few nonprofit agencies, doing mediation work, as well as working for a nonprofit for a year as well. And I was like, you know what, I think I want to start out on my own. And it's done. It's not always easy. You know, it takes some time to get your name out there and whatnot. But for me, like I said, it's pretty good. For me, it's fulfilling that I'm able to give back and help the community.
Yeah, I'm sure. So the name of your company is Ease Conflict Resolution Services. And
Yes.
where are you located?
I'm located in Minnesota. I'm in St. Paul. So basically the Twin Cities, but I am licensed to work in all over the state of Minnesota. A few years ago, I did go back for more certifications, so I am certified in family and divorce as well. I'm thinking I might do a couple other things too, and you know, it's and working with elders and mediating with them and their families, whatever the case may be. So yeah, I'm licensed in the state of Minnesota. I know a couple people have asked me from different states, can I represent them as well? However, that's a slippery slope. Kind of works the same way with attorneys. You have to get licensed and registered for each state, and every state is different. So I would have to do some investigating of what their licensing consists of.
Right. So you mentioned you have a particular certification in divorce and family. Are there many different types of certifications in this field, or how does that work?
Those are the two main ones. Typically, if you are certified for basic and civil mediation, it kind of engulfs quite a bit of the parameter, whether it's business, whether it's bankruptcy. It's just kind of where you feel comfortable, where your niche is, but what that wheelhouse looks like for you. Because you have people that, just like attorneys, they specialize usually. So you have your family law, you have your criminal law, so there's the different things. And mediators can kind of go within those same confines, those guidelines. Obviously, it definitely looks different for criminal. There's no way I can, mediate a criminal case. There is something that is called, and I have been doing some study and I have been doing work. For some people, they call it restorative justice or restorative practice work. Mm-hmm. I have been doing that, and I am certified with that. And that kind of helps with if there has been a wrong that's been committed, that both parties can sit down and figure out, okay, how do we move forward? What can we do? I've have worked on some youth cases where, you know, there's been some theft, they've been banned out of the store, you know, whatever, so they have to make amends, or whatever the case may be, so they're not ending up in the system.
Oh, wow, that's awesome.
Does that make sense?
That does
So
make
trying
sense.
to squash and trying to keep them from getting a record, ruining their lives further. So if they do and work in this program, that can eliminate them having a record.
Wow. So if someone was in that situation, would they call you, or would the judge refer? Or how does that usually happen?
Typically, it would be the judge that we refer. There are some counties that there are things in place, especially with the youth, that, you know, we're working at trying to figure out ways, you know, that are creative ways that, okay, yes, you made a mistake. Hopefully you can learn from this mistake, instead of having this child have a case and they're, you know, and it follows them for the rest of their lives. Or if they're 17, you know, those guidelines there.
Right.
Whether it's, you know, they may have to do some community service, it may be they might have to do some restitution. You know, it's a myriad of things of how that person could, you know, right that wrong that took place. And that's something that is a pilot program is being done right now as far as adults too. And now what I'm talking about now, these are nonviolent nonviolent cases that we are trying to work with, in getting that to be more popular. Because, okay, it's just, everything can't always be punitive, and that's the mindset in the world that we live in. Everything is punitive.
Right.
And wanting to get away from that, and like, okay, people, yes, obviously you made a mistake, but restorative practice, restorative justice work is not always going to be a good fit for everyone in every case. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it does. But I'm happy to know that that is the option available for those who, you know, it's a minor thing and they made a mistake and they're probably very apologetic of that, and just having being given a chance to have a new chance, a second chance.
Yes.
Yeah.
I mean, don't get me wrong, there's some hoops and loops you have to jump through,
I'm
but
sure.
I mean, it's either this, you're going to do it this way, or you're going to have to go the punitive way.
Right. So this is a career. I don't know how many, I'm thinking a lot of women are maybe in this career. I don't know how it is as far as, is there a lot of Black people in the field, or is it pretty
Absolutely not. That is something that we are lacking. I went to a conference a few years back, and that was one of the topics, is that we're looking for people of color. And our guest speaker, she was, you know, a Caucasian female. There are a lot of females that do the work. However, they're recognizing that there's a lack of color. We need some melanin in the skin, in the game, as well as for us as people of color. We know what to do. We know how to relate with one another. We know what to expect from one another. It's our culture. Where with the others, they're lost. And with referencing one of the conferences that I went to a few years back, another speaker that was teaching a workshop that day, she was a Somali woman. So she talked and taught the same thing about the cultural differences and whatnot, and what things look like. And, you know, the way that we do things here is westernized, true enough, But for them in their community, they have their elders. They sit down. They have a meeting with everyone involved, and that's how things are decided.
Wow.
Whether it's in the family or whether it's out in the community, everyone comes together and sit down and talks about it and figures out a settlement or agreement. What they feel as though that's manageable for everyone.
Wow, that's awesome. And like you said, it's definitely a cultural thing.
Mm-hmm.
I can hear someone say something and then I'll hear it said in a different way. And then I'm like, oh, I understand that now. So culture, we
Right.
can't really minimize the importance of that. It's very important.
Exactly. Especially, I have an undergrad degree in international studies.
Hmm.
And so living and being with, and I live in a diverse community for the most part. So I am around a lot of the Asian Americans and the Somalis and, the different ethnic backgrounds and ethnic groups. And we all, us people as color, we all walk in the same realm, just a little different. It's a little twist.
Right.
Just a little twist because like in the Hmong population, I know for a fact they operate the same way as the Somali population, where the community and the elders, they come down and they come together and sit down and figure out what's the best plan of action for everyone.
Wow.
So, yes, it happens. We might be of different cultures, but a lot of us, it overlaps.
Yeah. We can.
And that's one of the things that I really want to have out there, is make people aware that this is something that us as a community need to be involved in, as well as wanting to be proactive, because a lot of us, if we do get served or summoned or have a court date or whatever, we have that fear, our stomach and our gut, and especially in the climate that we're in, we tend to shut down and not want to deal with the problem at hand. Where if you don't deal with it and you just stuff it down, when it all comes up, it's going to be explosive, and 9 times out of 10, it's going to be too late. And that's what I want for us as a people, to be proactive in sitting down and discussing whatever the case may be, so it doesn't turn into like a 10.
Unnecessarily.
And we want to curb that unnecessary chaos.
Yeah.
And that's one of and that's one of the things that I want to bring to us as a people, to our community. Yeah. Unfortunately, this is the world we live in, but we have to be able to navigate where we go and how we do, and we can do better, and we can come up and lift ourselves up. We are able to just sit back and get along, and just, this can be done easily. And that's part of the reason why I named my business Ease, because mediation can be done with ease if you are come to the table ready to work, and with the good mindset and intentions, good intentions.
Yeah. Wow, I love that. So as someone who may be just learning about this, and they are maybe entering college or trying to figure out what they're doing after high school, how does someone get into this field? Is there like a specific degree?
I can say for the state of Minnesota.
Okay.
I can't say for other states. Like I said, it looks different for every state. Kind of the same way with attorneys, whatever, if you can practice in different areas. What I did is I took a course, one of my electives in college. The course that I took, it was called it was fell under the realm of communications, but the name of the course, it was Negotiations and Mediation. That's the course that I took, where all semester long I was in it. And after that, I had the opportunity. I could either go further and apply for my certification, or I could just take my regular full credit, 3-credit class, and but I chose to do both.
Okay.
So I got my credit, for obviously taking the class, but I also got my certification. So that's one way. I know if persons are in law school, or there's certain courses. Now, again, I'm speaking for the state of Minnesota. There's certain courses that would kind of overlap, that you can take and get your certification, as well as there are some things in the community. If you go to your state's main websites dealing with conflict or mediation through your state, they do offer courses and things too, that you can take there. And then there are some places that if you decide that you want to volunteer, there's a possibility, if you volunteer at a nonprofit agency, 9 times out of 10, they'll offer the course and you can take it with them and get certified as well.
Okay, wow. So a lot of different options on.
So yeah, there's a lot of different options, and you can just do regular straight certification just to work in the community and just, low key. Otherwise, you can take it to the next level and register with the state that you live in once you do have your certification, and say, okay, I'm registered with the state now. I have additional credentials. I am legitimate. It shows proof because you are required to do your CEUs every year. You have to have so many done in order to keep your certification current, so it doesn't lapse, for lack of a better term. Just like social workers and attorneys and different other careers that you do have to keep up and with continuing educational classes. So that is also
CEU is continued education unit, right?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Just wanted to, in case someone didn't know.
Oh, I'm sorry. Okay. So yeah, it's communication, continuing education units, or for lawyers, it's CEL. So for law, it's just kind of different depending on what arena you work in. It's the same thing.
Right. More classes to take too.
Yes, more classes to take. Yes, in order to continue on.
Right. So I would like to know, I asked this question of every guest that's on the show. What is your favorite wealth building activity?
I would say for me, it's in a roundabout way for me. I would say giving back, as well. In wealth, I'm looking at it as wealth as far as knowledge. Does that make sense? So me being able to help and educate the community, whether it's through volunteering, through service, through your local church, through your community rec center, or wherever it is, volunteering, as well as because you're giving back and pouring back into your community. Yeah. And that's where, I feel as though that charity starts at home. And if your community is not healthy, then how are you as a people going to be healthy? And once you're healthy, then you're able to build and gain wealth, because it helps vitalize or revitalize your community with everybody's working together as one.
Absolutely. That's just a macro way of looking at it, but that's very important. Everything doesn't have to be an individual thing. You can benefit from the community.
Exactly. So that's my way of giving back as well, as well as doing, giving donations and whatnot, and working, to charities and whatnot. I am not a wealthy person by any means. I do not have a 7-figure income.
But you have a wealth of knowledge, so.
Right. Yeah. And that's my way of giving back, is like I said, as well as, of course, charity and, donating and whatnot to different causes. But one of the reasons why I decided, again, with starting my firm, is looking at it as overall, being able to build that foundation and be able to leave a legacy and build generational wealth for my family. Yeah. And being able to bring them in and teach them the work and whatnot too, and being able to eventually have a whole center, a whole firm where it's just where I'm able to do a conglomerate of things as far as the restorative work, um, giving back to the community, helping, helping families that are in need, not just, and, obviously I'm not a nonprofit, but I will do pro bono work if it's, if it's necessary. Um, can't really put a dollar on everything. Obviously, monetary, we can't survive without money. It makes the world go round. We all know that, and especially in the time that we're in right now, due to COVID-19. So there are a lot of things, a lot of stressors, a lot of issues that our people are going through. Especially our people, because our people in our community have, BIPOC community have been hit really, really hard, with several different things due to COVID-19, on top of the things that we already endure and suffer and have to manage with on a regular day-to-day. But with COVID-19, it just exacerbated things.
Yeah, absolutely. It's been a tough time for a lot of people, even people just being out of work and not able to go back to work. So
yes, yep, lack of income, the fear, how am I going to pay these bills? Am I going to end up homeless because I'm not able to pay my rent? And I have done quite a bit of mediation with tenants and landlords, coming up and with solutions and ways that we can, keep the family in the home. And if it's not viable, then I'm able to also come up with what we call a move out agreement, where the family may need to leave. However, the landlord is not going to file an eviction case through the courts.
Oh, wow. That's
because
awesome.
We all know that once you have that on your record, on your file with an eviction, that lessens your chances of finding new homes.
Yeah, that's exactly right.
And so that's one of the things that I really work with, trying to make sure, especially with the, our homeless population right now is just insurmountable. And those are the things that hinder people from, maintaining a safe environment and calling home again. And so then it's just a vicious cycle.
Yeah. And it's hard to, once you're in that cycle, it's hard to get out of it.
Exactly.
And what I'm getting from you is you are proactive. Before you get to the point where everything explodes, you can offer solutions and try to come up with an agreement with all the parties involved.
Absolutely. There has been times where things have, gotten to the point where, they've had to go to court and they've come back, it's very rare. But I prefer to work with, my clients prior to going to court, because depending on what that situation is, it may be too late and my hands are tied.
Yeah. We don't want to get to that point.
Right, exactly.
We want options.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
So if someone were to call your business that's in the Minnesota area or the St. Paul area, they would do a consultation, and what will happen after that?
So yeah, I would sit down and we'll do a consultation. Usually it takes anywhere from 20 minutes to a half hour, depending on, what the situation is. We would sit down, talk about whatever the issue is, and that person would decide whether or not they want to move forward, or I would decide if it's going to be a good fit, if I'm even able to mediate the case. Once that's completed, I would then reach out to the other party and see if they are interested in sitting down and doing a mediation with me or with us. And from there, we schedule the appointments and we sit down and have a conversation and get things figured out. Obviously now with COVID, not able to sit at the table right now. So the way we would be mediating would be through Zoom. at this point.
Okay.
I am, one thing I do want to make sure that everybody understands. No, I'm not an attorney. However, I still have to work under those guidelines as far as everything is confidential. So whatever is discussed during our session, our meeting, whatever it is, our consultation, with the exception, like I said, if there is any, reason to believe that there's anyone, in harm's way, everything that is discussed is completely confidential. I cannot share anything, even with the courts. I'm not able to share any information. And that is something that is that's safeguarded, and I hold true to that.
Wow, that's great. Very ethical.
Yes. Kind of like, the client attorney, confidentiality, it overlaps.
Okay, all right, great. So can you give us your website or any contact information that you'd like to
Sure,
provide?
I can definitely give you my website. My website is EASE, that's capital E, capital A, capital S, capital E, conflictresolutions.com. So that's www.easeconflictresolutions.com. And my contact phone number is area 651-295-0572.
All right. Thank you so much. I appreciate you for joining me today. This was very powerful information. I know you probably reached a lot of people, and I hope you do very well.
Well, thank you. I appreciate you having me on today. I really welcome, I'm just happy to be able to share what I do with the community. And if someone's interested in working with me, please feel free to reach out. Or if you feel that you have questions about mediation, anything, please feel free to contact me. I'll be more than happy to answer any questions.
All right. And I'm going to have all of Eleanor's information in the description box as well. So thank you so much for tuning in with us today. Please like, comment, and subscribe. Talk to you later. Bye.